Fantasy games that I have. And here's Final Fantasy 1 and 2 Dawn of Souls. Now, they've remade this on just about every platform, so, you probably played this to death. I haven't played Final Fantasy 2 just because I heard it's not that good. I'm not a huge Final Fantasy fan in general. I've kind of gone through why in some of my other videos, why I don't really like the battle system that much. Kind of too simplistic for my tastes, but in Final Fantasy 1 specifically, they made it way too easy in this game. You basically just press A to win. You just go where you need to go. You're just kind of wondering why you're playing in the first place. There's pretty much no story at all. You just press A to win, and yeah, pretty much no reason to go back to these two games, in my opinion. Next up was Final Fantasy V. I haven't played it yet. I eventually will. I heard it has a really complex battle system, which is, a really nuanced battle system, which interests me. And one day I'll get to it. And next up was Final Fantasy VI. A lot of people say this is the best Final Fantasy. I've not yet played it. I will. I heard the sound isn't as good as the Super Nintendo version, kind of the same way Super Mario World Advance wasn't. Like I said, I will get to it one day. I am interested in playing it. And Final Fantasy Tactics. Sorry I'm moving along so quickly. I just don't want to waste your time since I haven't played these games. Final Fantasy Tactics, I heard it's kind of a baby version of Final Fantasy Tactics on the PS1. For some reason, Square Enix thinks that whenever they release something on a Nintendo platform, they have to make chibi characters and kind of like games that are friendly towards 9-year-olds, which is a shame. I think they should make a real Tactics sequel. But yeah. Let's see here. Next up, we'll go to Donkey Kong. Here's the original Donkey Kong Classic NES series version. I love Donkey Kong. The original arcade version. Unfortunately, Nintendo doesn't release many, arcade perfect ports of Donkey Kong. I don't know why it's not on Virtual Console. I'd play the hell out of it if they released it. The only way, to my knowledge, that you can play the original Donkey Kong on a console is if you put in Donkey Kong 64, go to the factory level, and there's an arcade there where you can play the original Donkey Kong game, which some snarky people say that that's the best part of the game, which, I wouldn't go that far, but this is just a port of the NES version, which not nearly as good as the original. Unfortunately, it's just, I'd much rather play the original arcade version. And if you haven't seen the movie King of Kong, A Fistful of Quarters, which is about this game and the competition behind it, you definitely should. Next up is Donkey Kong Country 2. I don't have Donkey Kong Country 1 yet, but I will one day. And this is just kind of a GBA remake of DKC 2 on the Super Nintendo. Now, obviously, the original had a legendary soundtrack, probably one of the best soundtracks ever made. Not nearly as good on this, unfortunately, but the game plays pretty well, pretty faithful. But yeah, only play this if you're dying to play some Donkey Kong Country 2 on the go. So Donkey Kong Country 3, haven't opened it yet. I got this. I don't know if you remember a store called KB Toys, but they were clearing out all their games since they were going out of business. And they weren't going out of business yet. They were just clearing out their games because they weren't going to sell games anymore. And they literally had this buy one, get one free sale. It's not even buy two, get one. It was buy one, get one. So I got this as part of that. So that was awesome. Haven't yet played. I heard it's a completely different soundtrack than the original. Still composed by the same composer, David Wise, which is interesting. I want to play it for that reason alone one day, but haven't gotten to that yet. And let's see where to go from here. Next up is Wario Land 4. Like I said, or I haven't said it yet, but it's a long-running series, Wario Land. They're on the portable consoles, with the exception of the Wii version, which isn't nearly as good as these ones. But Mario's kind of like an arcadey sort of game, and Wario's more of an exploratory game where you get different power-ups to kind of change your form in a more tangible way than Mario would with like a fire flower or something. And it's more about like um, opening up this time portal, then trying to get back to the beginning of the level in time. A lot of side missions. Yeah, it's a really good game, and probably the best Wario Land game by my account. And then Wario made this different transition, which I'm fully on board with. WarioWare Inc. Mega Micro Games, which I don't know why this is a Wario game at all, but this is just one of the best games ever made, in my opinion. This is probably the best game released in 2003, which is really weird to think about, but it's just a minigame collection. They're not even like Mario Party minigames where they can take up to a minute or so. These take like 5 seconds or less, and they just throw them at you. It's kind of like that toy. I don't know if they still make it, but like Bop It, where they'll tell you to like do all these commands and you have to do them in time, and it's really like Japanese and weird and fun, really creative, and just has a ton of interesting mini games. It'll make you laugh. And they're just really fun and simple games. I love this series. Next up is WarioWare Twisted, and I got this on the KB Toy sale as well. And this is kind of like Kirby's Tilt and Tumble, where it has a gyro sensor, so you interact with the minigames by just tilting. You don't press any buttons or anything, which is cool. It makes it even more like that Bop It metaphor I gave earlier. And I think it's a little overrated. People say it's the best in the series. I disagree. I'd say the original and Touched on the DS are better, but I'm in the minority on that one. But yeah, this is a great game as well. So I don't want to rail on it too much. Now getting to Mega Man. Now here's Mega Man Battle Network. Now, this isn't really anything like the original Mega Man games. It's more of an RPG. It's kind of an interesting conceit where you have like an internet buddy, Mega Man, and you go into the cyber world to kind of defeat net crime. And it's not really turn based, but it has random battles, and it has like an active RPG system where you collect chips, and each one has different powers, and you get more powerful chips as you go along, and you upgrade your character. It's a really great battle system, really unique, and unfortunately they kind of ran the series on the ground by releasing one every year, as they do with other Mega Man games. And still, the original was great. Here's Mega Man Battle Network 2. It was still great, before they ran into the ground, as I alluded to earlier. Here's Mega Man Battle Network 3 Blue. Still a great game. At this point, they made 2 versions, a blue and a white version. Kind of spelled at the beginning of the end, which we'll get to. With I don't seem to have it with me, but I do have Mega Man Battle Network 4, which is when it really went downhill, and it's unfortunately when I stopped caring about the series. So let's move on to another Mega Man game, Mega Man and Bass, or maybe it's Bass. I really don't remember how they pronounce it in these games, but this is a remake of the Super Famicom game, Rockman and Forte. It's basically just a classic Mega Man style game, but you can play as Mega Man or Bass. I'll just call it Bass for now. And the resolution isn't as good as the Super Nintendo, so everything's all zoomed in. It's not so you'll find yourself falling into pits because you didn't see them coming. Not that the Super Famicom version was great to begin with, but this could have been better. I only recommend it to hardcore Mega Man fans like myself. Here's Mega Man 03. I don't have 1 and 2 on the GBA. I do have the DS collection that has all 4 of them. I never got into the Zero series that much, just because I didn't like the overworld. I thought that was just too much for a Mega Man game. I didn't really like the levels either. I didn't like the grading system. I didn't like how it would punish you if you used a lot of the power-ups. They give you lower grades, and I just didn't like that mechanic. And I don't like the controls on the GBA either, like how to dash and stuff like that. It just feels a lot better on a Super Nintendo or PlayStation controller. So yeah, I don't like these games that much. 04, I also have that. Same thing as 03. Can't get into them in the same way. I'm a huge Mega Man X series fan and love Legends. I love the original Mega Man. I love Battle Network. Don't love the Zero series or the ZX series for that matter. Alright. Wow, this is taking a while. I have a lot of GBA games. Here's Metroid Fusion. This was the first 2D Metroid game since Super Metroid. I think a lot of people loved it a lot at the time, just for that reason. It's not as good today, but it's still a great game. It's really colorful because back when it came out, there wasn't a backlit GBA yet, so they had to make everything colorful, so it was easier to tell everything apart. It's really hard to go back and playing it like an old Game Boy that doesn't have a backlit screen or a frontlit screen. And this is a lot more linear than Super Metroid. You always know where you're supposed to go, which is good for some people, restrictive for others. I wish they'd reach a happy medium, but Nintendo, way too handholdy these days. Still a great game, though. Metroid Zero Mission, I'd recommend this over Fusion if you had to pick one. It's a remake of the original, but took a lot of liberty. It also includes the original NES version, which is really nice. So yeah. Alright, there's some technical difficulties. Here's Fire Emblem. Like I was saying before, there's a ton of stuff in it. Really feel like, getting a lot of content, but haven't got another Fire. Alright, sorry, I had some technical difficulties, and here we have Fire Emblem. I haven't gotten into the series yet. I hear it's really good. I hear the battle system is really nice. It has a good continuous story among the games. It has consequence. For example, if your character dies, he's gone for good, which is interesting in video games. People tend to kind of reset the game if something that they don't like happens, so it's kind of cool for a game to have consequence for once. Next up is Kingdom Hearts. As you can see, I got it from KB Toys. I got this in that deal I talked about earlier as well. Haven't played it. Heard it's okay. Card-based battle system. I'm not a huge Kingdom Hearts fan, so yep, pretty much all I have to say about that. Here we have Castlevania Double Pack. This has let's see, it has Harmony of Dissonance and Aria of Sorrow. Probably the two best GBA Castlevania games, and they play like Symphony of the Night, not as good, but they're still really fun, and they still look pretty nice even though the sprites have been recycled so many times. And yeah, if you have to get a Castlevania GBA game, get this double pack. And for the last of my boxed GBA games, we have Advance Wars now. This was actually on the original Famicom. It was called Famicom Wars, but this is the first time it came out in the US, which is why they call it Advance Wars. It's Game Boy Advance series, and it's funny that they still continue to call it Advance Wars on the DS. And that's a really fun kind of RTS turn-based. I don't know what genre it is, but it's a really cool strategic game where you have to kind of conquer your opponent's territory with tanks and stuff, and really great game, and they haven't released one in a while. I hope it's not dead. Alright. Let's speed things along here. We have Klonoa. The console Klonoa games are more platformy, but platformer-y, if that's a word. These are more puzzle-based. Not as good as the platformer games, but they're fun in their own right. Like I said, a little too puzzly for my taste, but yeah. Next up, we have Banjo-Kazooie, Grunty's Revenge. Now, it's interesting because this is after Microsoft bought/bastardized Rare. That's just putting my own opinion into it. I hate where Rare's gone these days. But this is published by THQ. For some reason, Nintendo didn't want to publish it themselves. And yeah, this is just kind of another Banjo-Kazooie game. Unfortunately, the last Banjo-Kazooie game, not counting nuts and bolts, which I don't count, and it's kind of like an isometric perspective. It's kind of a 3/4. It's not quite side scroller, not over the top, not overhead, not behind the shoulder. And it's pretty impressive for a GBA game, but it doesn't really have the soul of the first two Banjo games. And like I said, they look great for what they are, but ultimately not great. Next up is Boktai. This was made by Hideo Kojima and his crew, whatever you want to call them. And it was kind of based on like light energy. If you go outside, the sunlight will actually kind of affect the way your games play, which is an interesting concept. Something only Kojima would think of. It's kind of RPG-ish. I don't know how to explain it. I don't like genre distinctions in general, but yeah, pretty good game. I don't have the sequels. Don't really know if I need any more Boktai games, to be honest. Oh, here's Mega Man Battle Network 4, by the way. Sucks, but yeah. Here we have Sonic Advance. They made 3 Sonic Advance games, and they're pretty good for what they are. Not quite as good as the classic ones, but still pretty good. You can connect it to Sonic Adventure 2 Battle on the GameCube and kind of exchange chows, which is a cool feature. I don't have too much to say. These advanced games are good. Not a huge Sonic fan either, so I mean, I don't put this on the tier of Mario, but yeah, good stuff. Tactics Ogre. I kind of got this on accident. Someone was shipping me Conker's Bad Fur Day, and this happened to be in there. I was a nice guy, and I told him about it, and he was cool. He told me I could keep it, so that was nice. Don't have anything to say about it, though. And here's Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. This is a launch game. I actually got this at launch over Super Mario Advance. At the time, I was blown away by this, since it was by far the best looking portable game I'd ever seen. It was in 3D. I'm a huge Tony Hawk 2 fan. I have Tony Hawk 2 on like every console. I have it on PS1, N64, Xbox, GBA. I've never paid more than like $2 for each copy though, so I'm not that pathetic. I won't pay like $50 for these, but yeah, it's for what it is, it's a good game, good realization of the console versions, which was surprising at the time. And finally, it's a weird game to kind of end on, but Super Dodgeball Advance. This was also a launch game. Spiritual successor to Dodgeball on the NES. It doesn't flicker as much, which is a good thing. It's a really fun game. You have power-ups. You play teams from different countries. I don't think there's a Soviet Union in this game, unfortunately, but still a fun game, and yeah, kind of a lost classic, in my opinion. And that's about it for my GBA collection. I wish I could have gone in depth more, but this is a really long video as it is. GBA is a great console, and yeah, if you want to start your collection, I hope this helps a little bit. I don't know what video I'm going to do next, but hopefully it'll be good. Talk to you guys later. Oh, sorry, I almost forgot about these games. These are part of the Bit Generations series. Unfortunately, it only came out in Japan, these games. They came out in this period in like 2006 where, the GBA was already dead, the DS was out, it was already picking up steam. 2 other casualties from this that didn't come to America were Rhythm Heaven, the original one on GBA, and the most well-known one, Mother 3. I wonder if that'll ever surface. There's tons of politics behind that series for whatever reason. But anyway, these are kind of simplistic, very artsy games. You can see by the packaging it's really, really nice, really sharp. Some of these were remade on DSi and WiiWare under the Art Style series. But I just like these GBA ones just because they look really sharp and they're really stylish. Like let's just take a look at them. We have Dot Stream here. We have Dial Hex. got Boundish. We got Coloris, I don't know. We got Orbital. We got Sound Voyager. And finally, Digidrive. Like I said, it's really sharp packaging. You know, really white and simplistic. You know, it's really cool to have. I'm really happy to have them. I bought them off some guy off NeoGaf in America, so I didn't have to pay much to import them. Or I didn't have to pay any import taxes or anything like that, so it was really nice. And yeah, I just wanted to show you guys these neat little games that you might not have known about.